I was born to rule the stars, but I was never trained to feel afraid of a single man. Yet that is exactly what happened the day the humans came to my palace. My name does not matter as much as my title. I am the Queen Heir of the Veil Compact, ruler of 100 worlds, keeper of ancient laws that have guided my people for 1,000 years. From the moment I could speak, I was taught that strength meant control. A queen never lets her fear show. A queen never lets her heart lead her mind. I believed this with all my being, until the day my mother told me about the treaty. The humans want peace, she said, standing tall in the throne room, her voice steady, but her eyes tired. And peace, my daughter, comes with a price. You must marry one of their soldiers to seal the alliance. I remember the cold feeling that spread through my chest. Humans were still new to us. We had heard stories about them from other star nations, tales of a species that grew powerful too quickly, that fought hard and loved harder, that could not be predicted. My mother had always warned me about attaching my future to something so unstable. They are like fire, she told me once, beautiful to watch, but dangerous to hold. Do not let their warmth burn away your judgment. I trusted her words completely. So when the human envoy arrived, I expected someone dramatic, someone loud, someone who would try to impress me with grand speeches and empty promises. Instead, they sent a soldier named Elias. He was not what I expected at all. He walked into the receiving hall without any of the practiced grace my court demanded. His uniform was simple, his boots still carried the dust of travel, and his eyes moved around the room like he was studying it rather than admiring it. When he bowed to me, it was slightly wrong, a little too short, but there was something honest in the way he did it. He was not performing respect. He meant it. Your Majesty, he said, his voice calm, I am told I am supposed to marry you. I almost laughed. No one had ever spoken to me so plainly before. My court was filled with careful words and hidden meanings, but this man said exactly what he meant. Nothing more and nothing less. You say that as if it troubles you, I replied, testing him. It should trouble both of us, he said. Marriage should not be a sentence handed down by treaties, but if this keeps our people from more suffering, I will do my part. His honesty unsettled me more than any grand speech could have. I was used to flattery, not truth. I found myself staring at him longer than I meant to, trying to understand what kind of person could speak so freely to a queen without fear. You do not seem afraid of me, I said. Should I be? He asked, tilting his head slightly. Everyone is afraid of me, I said, and for the first time in years, I heard uncertainty in my own voice. I do not think you want people to be afraid of you, he said gently. I think you want them to trust you. There is a difference. I did not know how to respond to that. No one in my life had ever spoken to me about what I wanted, instead of what I was supposed to be. The days that followed were strange for both of us. My court did not trust him, and many still wanted the treaty to fail. There were nobles who saw this marriage as a threat to their own power, and they searched for ways to remove Elias from the picture entirely. One evening, while walking through the palace gardens, we were approached by several guards who had been secretly working for a rival house. They meant to frighten him away, hoping he would leave and break the treaty himself. I remember the fear I felt in that moment, not for myself, but for him. I expected him to react the way the old stories described humans, wild and unpredictable. Instead, he stepped calmly between me and the guards, speaking in a steady voice, asking them to lower their weapons and talk instead of causing harm. He did not threaten them. He did not raise his voice. He simply stood firm, unwilling to let fear control the moment, and slowly, the guards backed away, confused by his calmness. Why didn't you get angry? I asked him later, still shaking slightly from what had happened. Anger does not solve problems, he said. It just makes new ones. I would rather understand why someone wants to hurt me than give them a reason to try harder. That answer stayed with me for a long time. Where I expected fire, I found patience. Where I expected chaos, I found calm. Everything my mother had warned me about seemed to fade a little more each day I spent with him. As weeks passed, the political tension around us grew heavier. A neighboring star nation, long jealous of the Veil Compact's resources, saw the arrival of humans as a sign of weakness. They believed our alliance with Earth was fragile, something that could be broken with enough pressure. They began sending threats, testing our borders, hoping to scare us into breaking the treaty ourselves. My council wanted to respond harshly, believing that strength was the only language our rivals understood. But Elias suggested something different. He proposed that instead of matching aggression, we should show unity. He organized joint efforts between human soldiers and Veil forces, not to prepare for conflict, but to demonstrate that our alliance was strong and steady, built on trust rather than fear. They want us to panic, he explained to my council. If we show them we are calm and united, they will realize threatening us gains them nothing. Many of my advisors doubted this plan. They were used to responding to challenges with displays of power, but I found myself trusting him more with each passing day. His calmness was not weakness. It was strength expressed in a way my people had never fully understood before. The plan worked better than anyone expected. Seeing our forces working together smoothly, without hesitation or distrust, sent a clear message to our rivals. The threats slowly stopped. The tension eased. My people, who had once seen humans as unpredictable and dangerous, began to see them as steady allies instead. Through all of this, my feelings toward Elias began to shift in ways I did not expect. I found myself looking forward to our conversations, not because of duty, but because I genuinely enjoyed his company. He asked me questions about my people, my history, my hopes for the future, and he listened carefully to every answer, never interrupting, never dismissing my thoughts as unimportant. One evening, as we stood on the palace balcony, watching the twin moons rise over the capital city, I finally asked him the question that had been sitting in my heart for weeks. "Do you regret being chosen for this?" I asked quietly. He was silent for a moment, watching the moonlight reflect off the distant towers. "No," he said finally. "I did not choose this path expecting anything good to come from it. I thought it would be difficult, and it has been, but I did not expect to find someone like you, someone who listens as much as she leads. Someone who cares more about her people's well-being than her own comfort." I felt something warm bloom in my chest, something I had never allowed myself to feel before. Fear, I realized, was often just the shadow cast by the unknown, and the more I came to know Elias, the less that shadow seemed to matter. My mother always told me humans burn too brightly, that we should never rely on something so unpredictable, I admitted. "Maybe she was right about the brightness," he said, smiling slightly. "But brightness does not have to mean danger. Sometimes it just means light in the dark." I looked at him then, truly looked at him, and understood that everything I had been taught to fear was based on stories, not truth. My mother's caution had come from a place of protection, but it had also come from a place of not knowing. Elias was not fire that burned everything in its path. He was warmth that helped things grow. As the treaty's final ceremony approached, my court prepared for the marriage with more excitement than I had ever seen before. What had once been viewed as a political necessity had become something my people genuinely celebrated. Human soldiers and Veil citizens worked side by side, preparing decorations, sharing stories, building bonds that went far beyond the original treaty's intentions. On the day of the ceremony, I stood before my people, and beside me stood Elias, calm as always, his presence steady and reassuring. I looked out over the crowd, filled with both Veil citizens and human representatives, all gathered together not out of obligation, but out of hope for a shared future. "I was taught to fear this moment," I said to the crowd, my voice carrying across the grand hall. "I was taught that joining our future with humanity meant risking everything we had built, but I have learned that fear often blinds us to truth. Elias has shown me that strength does not always look like power. Sometimes it looks like patience. Sometimes it looks like listening. Sometimes it looks like standing beside someone, not above them." Elias took my hand then, and for the first time in my life, I did not feel like I was performing a role expected of me. I felt like I was simply being myself, standing beside someone who understood me completely. The years that followed brought many changes to both our peoples. The alliance between Earth and the Veil Compact grew stronger, built not on fear or necessity, but on genuine respect and understanding. Elias never sought power for himself. He remained exactly as he had been the day I first met him, honest, calm, and endlessly patient, always more concerned with the well-being of others than with his own status. Sometimes, late at night, I still think about how differently things could have turned out. If I had let my fear control my choices, if I had let old stories and warnings shape my view of him before I truly knew him, I might have missed the chance to find someone who changed my entire understanding of strength and trust. My mother once told me that humans burn bright and fade fast, that their warmth could not be trusted to last. But she was wrong about one thing. It was not their brightness that mattered most. It was what they chose to do with that light. Elias did not use his light to burn away the things around him. He used it to help our people see each other clearly, without the shadows of old fears and misunderstandings. He showed me that a single person, guided by patience and honesty, could change not just my destiny, but the destiny of two entire worlds. Looking back now, I understand that the fear I once felt was never truly about humanity as a whole. It was about the unknown, about letting go of everything I had been taught to believe, and trusting something new. Elias did not erase that fear by proving my mother wrong through arguments or grand gestures. He simply lived his life with such steady honesty that the fear slowly faded on its own, replaced by something far stronger. Trust. And in the end, that trust became the foundation of everything we built together, both as partners and as leaders guiding our people toward a future neither of us could have imagined on the day we first met, in that quiet, uncertain receiving hall.